Hey everybody, welcome to Blasting or Stashing Comics. Today we got a special guest. We got Von Nell Young from Delta Dogs. He's here to talk about his book. You've heard Joe talk about it. I've heard me talk about it a little bit. I picked up issues 1 through 3. So don't worry about this episode because there are no... This is definitely not the Wishy Dick episode issue. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of jump into it. If you're live and you're watching, you want to ask a few questions, don't hesitate to go ahead and jump in there and ask them. But we're going to go ahead and jump into it with Von Nell. We're going to throw him up in front and center here. There he is right there. I guess. So my first question for you is, what is your history in comics? How did you get involved? Were you a comic fan growing up and you decided, hey, I want to do this? What is your history in comic books?
So I didn't have any books until after the series Static came out. All I had was toys, Power Rangers, and all this other good stuff. My brother started actually doing comic books after he saw Static, and me being the younger brother, I wanted to basically just follow whatever he did, and that's when I started writing comics myself. I couldn't draw as good as him, but I started writing, and he liked what I did, and I basically stuck with it ever since then. So,
is your brother still in comics?
No, he's not still in comics, but he's in the comic. That's Curtis. That's
Do you still buy comics yourself too?
Yeah. So I actually just buy indie comics as of right now. The people that's local, that lives near me, or just people that's friends that I'm friends with on Facebook. They have a Kickstarter. I back it every single time. And but my favorite comic book, that if I did have to choose like Marvel or DC, it would definitely be the run of Ultimate Spider-Man. I love just the constant struggle and stuff like that. I take a lot of notes from that. I read through the series a couple of times just so I can make sure that I take whatever nutrients I can get from those books. And again, just the everyday struggle. Like you read the comic book, and it seems like it's years and years at a time, but it's really just like a year and a half through the 100 and something run of that Ultimate Spider-Man series. It's only like a year and a half that goes by because it's just like a constant struggle that Peter Parker has to go through, and it's amazing. Even how it ended, it was amazing.
Yeah, that was actually one comic for me because I got out of comics for a long time and I jumped back in. I'm like, what the hell is this? What the hell's going on? Because I was not aware of any of the Ultimate Universe or any of that kind of stuff. So all that stuff was like I'm totally lost when it comes to I just know the old Peter Parker. What about you, Joe? You got a question for him yet?
Oh, you know I do.
You do.
All right. So as a writer, and not just maybe in the comic book for them, but are there other places where you kind of, through literature, other writers, whatever else? Because I'm not an artiste myself, so I don't draw inspiration from things. I'm kind of just a carbon copy of whatever I'm dealing with. So do you have any other inspirations that have kind of pushed you, like motivated you or anything along those lines?
So what really motivated me was, really just at the beginning, I saw a lot of characters that didn't look like me, or the ones I did see that did look like me, they didn't feel like me. As in, like, my background, what I grew up with, people I grew around. So I wanted to kind of like really make a mission to bring that out, flesh those characters out in the comic book media. And the things that really kind of taught me was things like One Piece, like mostly anime, and just like studying their writing. I look at good stuff, I look at bad stuff. I look at YouTube all day long, every day, to kind of just brush up on my writing. When I'm at work, that's all I do is listen to just how to write videos and stuff like that. It's really like a lifestyle right now to make sure that I come into this business right. And again, I write more like anime with my characters, and my image that I put out looks like comics. If that makes sense.
Yeah, you can definitely in your comic book see the anime influence in it, and please don't take this personally. I've never been an anime fan; it's not my thing. But that said, this feels and it reads and it flows very well for a comic book, but you can definitely see. I don't know how to put it. The anime story set board for it, I can see that being very anime-ish. Is that? I don't even know if that's a word. I'm not that bright.
We're gonna make it work today. That's good.
I make words
How about you, Mike? Do you have anything, or you just want to sit there and look pretty?
I'm just going to sit here and look pretty for right now.
Okay.
You're doing a good job, Dave.
Okay. If you've got a question, just raise your hand like you normally do on a live show, and we'll get you in there. We'll add you in the queue. So you talked briefly about kind of what you were into and the comic stuff of that. I see where maybe a lot of that's influenced into Delta Dogs and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Is that what you brought in? What you related to, and that's what you brought into your comic? Is that how you did it?
Yeah. Well, I just took some styles to kind of like. I wanted to communicate my story, but I didn't know how to communicate it through storytelling, like how to start it, how to end it, how to keep it flowing. So what I did was, again, I looked at different media to finally grasp of how I can communicate it. So with the story, it's more like I'm sorry to reference this again, but it's more like a One Piece meets Game of Thrones meets The Wire. I'm not sure if you guys have ever seen any of that.
I love The
Wire. I definitely wanted to take my time with this story to kind of make sure I can really be honest. I wish I would have with season 1. I know we have 1 through 11 out right now, but season 1 is 1 through 10. And to be honest, if I had a little bit more room, I honestly be like 20 issues. I really love telling stories, but it's really complicated to kind of fit it all in one issue or a few issues. But of course, I don't regret how I did anything. But at the same time, there's so much story to be told. Like The Wire, you have that whole gangster feel and stuff like that. How they really break down, how they sell, and how they do things and stuff like that. And that's really what I want to kind of tell in the story of Delta Dogs, of what really happened in our streets back in Norfolk, Virginia Beach, and stuff like that. How we do things. It's really like a culture. I hate to say it, but it's like a culture, and how we grow up as cousins, what we had to go through, what options we had to go, because we didn't have the same materials you have somewhere in Atlanta or Cali or just other places. Virginia has a military base, or you have basketball, different sports and stuff like that. So we didn't have too many opportunities, or we didn't know that we had those opportunities because that's not what we was taught. So I kind of want to put that same feel with the cousins of just a lot of the stories that's in the story, that's in the book is really true. I'm not gonna tell you which ones are not and which ones are, but a lot of the stories that you see with the cousins is really true. If you go back to issue 1, you kind of see like the father dynamic. If one of the cousins, you see that look that the father gives them, and then you see the look that the son gives back at him. Just small things like that, where it's like it's a little tension there. What's going on? And I just really try to break that down. But I'm gonna go really deep into it in season 2. That's where you really see everything flourish and come and see why it's such a long series. Trust me, it's not gonna. Season 2 is gonna be like 20 issues. And it's 20 issues for a reason. You'll see exactly why, of course.
That's
like I said,
actually, I was going to say that's actually my favorite part of the book. I think I only read it through issue 7 or 8, but just the cousins interacting with each other, and I love my team books. I love the Avengers, X-Men, even Suicide Squad. So it just seeing them interact together, that's one of my favorites.
Before we jump over to Joe, real quick, Joe, just so the audience knows too, we've been talking about Delta Dogs. We haven't given them a chance to kind of tell us what the basic premise is of the book.
Oh,
We better do that before we jump into any further questions.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was just kind of going there. So kind of give us a quick summary of Delta Dogs, what it is, who it is, and well, it's your baby, man. Hit it.
So Delta Dogs is about 7 cousins going through that teenage struggle. Next thing you know, they get superpowers that makes their problems just that much harder. So one of the cousins actually gets them into a gang war, and it's like, how in the world they're gonna get out of it? So with each issue, it just gets worse and worse and worse. And you find out that one of the cousins was actually, oh man, I ain't gonna spoil that part, but I'm trying to keep it new for my new readers. So what I really like about the series is their powers. It's something you have to think really outside the box. There's mystery behind it. So not only is the cousins are stuck in the gang war, they're also getting chased by a military unit and a mysterious military unit, and also a mad scientist, and they gotta get ready for the next test exam. What it really comes back to is that family dynamic where, you know, they grew up with each other. They're like family, they're like brothers. And you have that banter, you know, like, hey, you know, who drunk my juice? I just put it in the refrigerator, like who did that? You know, you have stuff like that that the cousins go with. And that family dynamic just comes so genuine. And it's actually really based off of me and my family, and that's how I came just so easy. So and with this story, their superpowers, I'll just leave with that. With their superpowers, it goes off of they can't overuse them because their superpowers are not only help them out of things, but also they can be their greatest weakness because their superpowers have side effects. If you use it too much, something may happen. And every single power makes complete sense once you really get in deep into it. And but the thing is, their powers, they don't know what they can do because the thing is, their powers can come with an instruction manual. You know, you don't just wake up with powers. You get a book right beside you, and you try to flip through it. Like, okay, that's how you do it. Like, no, it didn't come with that. So when they get powers, it's like, okay, things are starting to happen. They don't know why it's happening. Okay, this works like this. Let me just do this. I don't know how I picked up this truck, but I picked it up, and now I can throw it. So
I especially love and I always call it the montage scene because comic books even do it too.
Yeah,
where you kind of have them out in the woods in Norfolk, which that's not a whole lot of woods, by the way.
I can try to do it with a little bit.
You're in a patch of trees. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
And they're kind of figuring out their powers and still trying to keep it away from the aunt at the same time. I love that because, you know, for people, when people get something they need to, it's very, and this is to your benefit and where I thought you were just on point. Most of the time in a comic book, somebody gets a power and then automatically they're like, I know what to do. Right? And it's annoying. It's something personal to me. It's just annoying to me. Because again, like Spider-Man, like you mentioned earlier, and the struggle, you know, getting something new and being able to use it correctly, you know, that's a struggle. And I thought that was just absolutely ingenious. The thing was funny to read because they're making mistakes, but they're trying to figure it out. And I just thought that was ingenious.
Yeah, because there's so much story there, and I feel like it's a crime to kind of skip over that type of stuff. And that's why I definitely just had to put it in there.
Definitely. Now, you've purposely, again, like in most comic books, you know, there's always a narrative box off to the side where their powers are very specifically explained. You chose not to do this and even kind of play a game at the cons. You want to talk about that?
Oh yeah, when I just ask people, you know, I have a 7 posters for the 7 cousins, each cousin being in a poster, doing a specific power. I asked them again, what do you think his power is? 9 times out of 10, or even worse, they get it wrong, which is really surprising because I think you were one of the ones that got it right.
I got 5 of them right, and you told me to go back and reread certain issues to pick up because you said it explains it in the art very, very well. And I went back and looked at it, and I was like, "Oh, I'm an idiot. I didn't read it." Okay. So can I spoil one of them? Would you be okay with me spoiling one of? Because I just want to show the absolute genius behind these powers.
Go for it.
So you have and we'll just for right now call him the speedster. Is it Josh?
Yes, Josh. That's
All right. So Josh, when you first read the comic book, you see Josh, and immediately you would think that he's a speedster because everything it looks like he's moving so fast that there's versions of him behind him, but he's actually multiplying and propelling himself forward. We find out in one issue, and I thought that was ingenious because in the wood scene, and that's why I brought that up. That's where he realized that he's not fast. He's actually just multiplying super quickly and absorbing back. And absolutely ingenious. And I love the fact that that wasn't explained. Although on a flip side, and to be fair, I can see where somebody's like, wait, no, he's a speedster. Why is there so many of them? Right? Because the art doesn't always translate the verbiage. But if you read it clean, oh man, it was just I thought that was and I'm not even going to give the ghost on the energy one because I think I was the first one to get the energy one right, or the Iceman effect. Yeah. So I'm not going to give that one up because I thought that was really cool. But I think this is just beautifully written, and I love the fact that it's so much interaction. What do you think the powers do? Because I mean, really, anything's interpretive, and I thought that was, and I appreciate that. Thank you,
Mike. You had your hand so patiently raised there.
Well, now I forgot. No.
Oh my goodness, Grandpa.
I'm sorry. I didn't even see
any plans for like a female villain or female cousin? Any female characters?
Yeah, you need to go pick this up.
So, man, I cannot wait to get to this one character. You're gonna see it in. Should I say it? Can I say it? Which issue?
That's up to you, man.
That's up to me.
Yeah.
Well, the cover is already out. I'm not sure if you can pull it up online or not, but it's issue 12. She's on the front cover, and I absolutely love this character.
Now, her introduction was in 11, correct?
No, her introduction was actually in issue 5. Well, really an introduction, but she did appear in issue 5. Yep, there she is.
Okay, yeah.
But it's another one in there. It's another female in the back as well, and she has one of my favorite power sets as well. And both of those females, they're extremely powerful, extremely powerful.
Nice, yeah, because I'm all about the female superhero, female villain. I love my female characters. So
yeah, just wait till you get. You'll find something else nice.
So, as far as I can tell, issues 1 through 10 kind of followed this formula of there was an established family dynamic of roles and responsibilities, and then kind of with the superpowers, there was an expectation of maturing. Like everybody had to kind of mature a little bit, settle down. Let's get this under control. Let's be a team. And then as you're going through, there was kind of just okay, now we have a threat, right? We have several threats actually, right? Some the immediate ones, of course, were the Blue Sock Sluggers. Where did you get the name Blue Sock Sluggers from?
Let me see here. A lot of that inspiration actually came from the game called The Warriors. I basically kind of combined that with the Bloods and Crips on this side. I know you remember those, the Bloods and Crips.
I remember those back in the 80s in Norfolk, yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of basically just combined those and had the different colors as well. Kind of representing each one of them. And, of course, representing the city as well that's in this area. It's a lot of stuff behind there. There's actually like a whole system that I've made. It took me, I think, about a month to finally get that system right. I don't want to spoil it here, but of course, definitely pay attention to that. There's a lot more deeper it's layers to the gangs and stuff like that. It's not called organized crime for nothing. Trust me. Yep.
Yeah, I really like this because it doesn't come off as a I don't know how to explain it. The criminal organization in this does not come off as your stereotypical thugs. It seems like, well, not your stereotype, but it comes off as a criminal enterprise. Now they're dealing in something unique. Do you want to explain that?
Well, I don't want to say too much because I don't know what you guys know. So I'll let you explain it.
All right. So, well, I don't want to spoil it either now because now I don't want to do that to you. So, what they're dealing in. Okay, so we're not hardlining. We're not hard maining anything. Like, this is not your average drug. Can we say that?
Yeah, it's not your average drug. I give you that. Go ahead.
Okay, this isn't your actual thing. And then this is when it kind of woke up to me, and I should have picked it up at issue 1 because they actually got their powers. And again, I don't want to spoil it, but I think origins are important. They actually got their powers in a unique way. It was from something called an Omega human, right? We understand why you got to use the word Omega. Anybody that watches the show understands why you got to use the word Omega and not the M word. All right. So, and apparently there was an incident. There's a secret government facility, which is not too hard to believe in this area because we do live in the Hampton Roads area. There's a lot of research facilities. NASA's right down the road, the whole 9 yards. So it really does make sense for the area. And then we back to this thug thing. So we could see something coming out and getting filtered through. Like everything made sense. And I don't want to talk about season 2 yet. It gets very interesting there. So I'm assuming, my assumption is we're dealing with currently 2 underlining stories. Is the gang gone, or are we going to see them come back?
Let me see here. How can I explain this without really explaining it?
How about just buy the books, Joey? Because I will.
Everything that I've put out so far, they're all connected. They're all trying to say something that connects to everything. I really don't want to spoil it or anything because, to be honest, that's like almost 50 issues down the line.
Fair enough.
There's a lot of mystery behind it. I really don't want to spoil it for you. I'm sorry.
You've actually taken your time. Let me make sure. I want to break this down for our fans. And Huey, I'm sorry, I'm eating up a lot of the show, but I really am a huge fan of this book. So you've actually taken the time, and you were completely world building, right? Like the scope of this is a lot larger than these 10 issues. But also, I found as I'm reading this, you can actually read this, and you can actually see kind of the evolution of your own art. And your art in it too. So we're actually watching something, and this is what I found to be amazing. First issue, little rough, still good story. Do not get me wrong. Art was still good. Little rough. Issue 2, I was like, oh, okay, a little smoother. Dialogue starting to come along. And as we go through this, I'm starting to notice the dialogue writing of this is starting to get super smooth. And then all of a sudden, issue 11, it's like, he dialogue solid now. Like, okay, this makes sense. Is that fair? Am I being fair right now, or am I being critical?
Absolutely fair. Absolutely. Yeah, which I'm very excited about because again, it's things that I didn't know because this is my first comic book run, and it's things I didn't know I needed. I found out I needed those things. I got those things together. You can really just see not only the artist growth, but my growth as a creator as well, which I'm just so psyched about. I have to, of course, look at this stuff every day. I have to go back and make sure I'm making sure there's no plot holes or anything. And I just see the difference between issue 1 and issue whatever I'm working on. Mm-hmm. And it's just really exciting to kind of just And it's really painful to kind of wait for everybody else to catch up. I cannot wait for you guys to like really see.
Like as soon as your issue comes out, I read it, and every time I talk to you, you're like, "Oh wait, no, you just gotta wait." And I'm like, "Oh, what? No, you can't be that far ahead," and you are. That's awesome. I'm sorry.
Joe kind of
go ahead.
No, yeah, you kind of stole my thunder a little bit because I was going to ask him what he's learned from issue 1 to where he is now. It's kind of the same thing. Yeah, I mean, you kind of answered a little bit with Joe's question there. What have you learned from issue 1 to where you are on what issue? Because we're on issue what now? 12, 11.
11. I'm on issue 11 right now. So, what I really learned was, of course, have an editor. Lord have mercy. I wish I would have had an editor on issue 0. Right off the jump, the editor is like one of the most things I really wish I had. And then also a professional letterer, which now I really do have a professional letterer, which we're only going to grow from there as well. And also, how to use flashbacks. I wasn't really too good at using flashbacks, and also the dialogue to kind of really make sure that each character has their own like nature as well of how they communicate. So also just even the art, like you don't want to always just have something, just somebody just standing there, not doing it, nothing else is going on. They're just standing there, wind's blowing, nothing's really going on. You want to have things moving as well. Like not only are you telling the story through dialogue, but you're also telling the story through art as they're moving along, doing things as well. So it's just a lot of just small things that just really kind of opened up to me while I was like going through the experience of creating.
Now, like what I really like about this, and I thought you displayed it very well. I mean, I have 6 kids. They have 6 different personalities. You would think that those 6 kids growing up would be very similar, but they couldn't be further from the. I mean, they're totally opposite of each other, but yet they would stand up and fight for either one of them. And I thought you brought that very well into the book. And you talked about growing up with cousins, and that's how you got a lot of inspiration from that. Do you have specific people? I mean, did you talk to your cousins and say, "Hey, I'm going to put you in this book. You're going to be this character," or was it something that? How did that process go?
Oh man, so we're all in a chat together. It's a text chat. Most funniest text chat you'll ever see. And I mentioned it to everybody. It's like, hey, I'm gonna get this comic book started, and we joked for hours going back and forth. Like, hey, don't make sure you don't put that time where Little B did this and stuff like that. So, again, we just had an amazing time, and it kind of really gave me more inspiration to finally get everything down on paper. And it's just small things like it was like small rules that we kind of, or unsaid rules that we kind of went by. Like it didn't matter how mad we got at each other. We never punched each other in the face. All we did was wrestle, slam each other in the ground, or push each other around. But the worst that we got, again, we never punched any of us, each other in the face. So it's stuff like that. It was just like that love. Like, man, yeah, I'm mad at you. And yeah, I want to like push you or do whatever, but I'm never going to hurt you to that point. So that really sets the ground as well in Delta Dog. You see them arguing all the time, but at the end of the day, they love each other to death.
Oh, I punched the hell out of my cousin. I don't care.
So why go with cousins and not brothers? I understand your cousins were your inspiration. And by the way, I have another question, a follow-up question for that. So why go with cousins?
Be honest, it was just the easiest thing to do. This is my first comic book run. I have hundreds and hundreds of characters, but I didn't know how to flush out characters like that. So I just wanted to get more experience, which I'm getting now. So I thought the easiest route, the safest route, was to just go with the cousins that I know. I know Little B, I know Josh, I know all of them. So I just had to it was copy and paste. So that's why I went with cousins.
Literally, the character's name is Quan Mike Little B. What does Little B stand for?
I mean, do you want the comic book version or do you want the
I don't want to know your personal family.
That's the common.
We got Little B, we got Josh, we got Kenny, we got Curtis, and the last and final character has a very unique name. Is you.
Yeah, Vonell.
You put yourself in a comic book. I got to be honest. Kudos to you for doing that. Not enough people do that.
Yeah, it gets embarrassing sometimes. You know, he's the crybaby, so I had to be truthful.
I got a feeling you're going to be a hero real soon after issue 11.
No, it takes some time.
So, did any of your cousins have any influence on what powers they would have, or was that all you?
No, they had all the influence over each power.
Okay.
Oh,
So
no.
they said, "Hey, I kind of want to be a speedster. I don't want to be this guy," or they gave that direction to you.
No, it was just their personalities and what they went through. So each power has something to do with their journey. So, I don't know if I want to spoil that part.
Well, you don't have to. Does it reflect into their their real life personalities as your cousins? Does that reflected? Okay, yeah.
Yep, it does.
Okay. So just like most mutant powers are kind of representative to some sense of their personality. You've kind of, it's a good formula to follow. You're like bad for doing it. It seems it reflects very well. Would that be correct?
Yeah. So like, let me see. I'm trying to think of one of them. Okay. So the shadow one, that's really easy to explain. Basically, Quan, he's the darker cousin because he came from a gang, so he would have a shadow. Shadow representing a certain thing, which you know, Joe, but shadow representing a certain thing, and again, the powers are really deep. I haven't even scratched the surface of them, so I don't want to say too much.
I would say for your comic book, when you first kind of flip through the pages without reading it, it comes off like a standard comic book, and I thought that was ingenious. But for middle-aged men that kind of sit down and kind of absorb, like guys like Sleepy Reader, like he would eat this stuff up. This is right up his alley. And a lot of your more, I think even Drew, like Drew's considered an intellectual at comic books too. I think he would even enjoy this as well. So some of us that kind of read comic books and we kind of like when you get into the issue 1 of a comic book, you don't know if it's going to be deep or not. You're just assuming you're reading what you're reading. And then when you get into issues 3 and 4, you start to realize you start adding that spice to it, and you start okay, this is not your average comic book.
Or it could go the totally opposite direction when you hit issue 3 or 4 and be like, yeah, this is hitting a brick wall. I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah, I generally don't judge. Well, I've only blasted a handful of comic books.
A handful
on the first issue. Like I've read something, and I'm like, this is just absolute garbage. I don't want to read it, right? And then I was like, Delta Dogs came out. I read it, and then I was like, okay, I'm interested in this. 1, it's my hometown, got to support it. 2, it was I support indie comics. And 3, I was still kind of interesting about how the family dynamic would actually work. And then after issue 6, I was like, yeah, I think this is going to be a regular pull for me. And then your interaction with people at cons, I'm going to be honest with you. You're probably, if you were ever at a Comic Con and you get to see the Delta Dog sign, listen to me, you got to go over and have a chat with these guys at the table. They're engaging. They want to talk to you. They want to know your opinions. Like they want to know what you think of their comic book. And I think that's just very refreshing because you don't see that kind of energy anymore.
Yeah, no, I think just those Comic Cons, which I need, they're like a drug to me right now. just interacting with people, man. I just love it because I don't get too many people that's into the same thing I'm into. So interacting with people, talking to people, especially even about my craft, about my dream, my passion, that's even a plus. But just talking to people and just seeing them at the cons, this is like home to me, to be honest. So talking to you, I remember the first day you came and I met you, and it was like the best. Like, man, I definitely enjoyed that Comic Con. Just everybody, just all the positive energy, which I had absolutely no idea I was going to get in the first place, which I'm honored to get. And we was making up stuff on the fly, like the whole contest thing. We was making up everything on the fly. You're like, man, I can do this. And it was like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, and meeting your family, meeting the family there on that very first con. That was really, I really liked the whole family dynamic to it. Your family's obviously on board with this kind of stuff. And I'll be honest with you, everything reverts back to money. I'm a money guy. And I'm like, I don't mind giving these people money. Like, I'm very happy to buy this comic book. Here is your $5. Like, I have no problems with that. And like, there are some, like, I just read a stack of DCs, my polls for this week, and I was like, really? I paid $5 for this. I paid $5 for DC. So thank you for that much. But I'm sorry, I'm kind of geeking out a little bit. I hate to see it. I'm more excited when I go to our local cons or when I see you at a con. I am more excited to see Delta Dogs in there or Daniel Montoya than if Jim Lee was sitting in the back and the line was short. It's like, okay, yeah, Jim Lee. I've seen his stuff for years. This is something that's actually growing. I'm sorry, but when I'm excited about something, I talk. Huey, Spider, you all got anything?
Go ahead, Mike. You got anything?
No,
of course. Delta Dogs. What?
So if you weren't doing this whole comic thing, I mean, like, what else are you into? Video games, wrestling, anything?
Oh, no question. PlayStation 4 all day. Wait for our PlayStation 5. I'll meet you in line, Mike. I'll meet you in line.
It's still waiting to meet online.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, when I'm stuck on something on the comics, I step away, play a few games, get my tail whooped, and I hop right back on it.
There you go. And you have kids? You have...
Me and my wife, we talking about it.
Okay.
We talking about it.
Don't do it. You got to go get a real job. Don't do
it. They end up abandoning you.
Depressing. You got to think. You're talking about 3 40-year-old middle-aged comic book readers. Kids hate us.
Well, I went through. Dave's got like 19 of them, so we only have one. So.
Yeah, we only have one.
Oh yeah.
Huey, you had something. What do you got there, buddy?
No, I was going to say, my kids, I always tell them, hey, do you tell your classmates I got a YouTube channel? No way. I'm not telling them you have a YouTube channel. That's just embarrassing, Dad. I'm not going to do that. That's what my kids do to me.
Actually funny you mentioned that. And just as a side note, talking about kids, because the comic book has kids in it, so we'll relate it to that. So, as everybody knows, I'm a member of our Masonic Lodge down here in our little area. And there's an organization inside called the Job's Daughters from the Bible. And it's a bunch of young ladies. Basically, it's etiquette, be polite, be a good person, basically, in their youth. It's all female driven. My daughter tells nobody that in Ohio that her dad's a YouTube guy, right? The comic book shops down there know my channel better than my daughter does. After I was down there.
That's sweet, bittersweet. That's bittersweet.
So, the Job's Daughters accidentally found me online, and they rave about that. And every time I go to their virtual meetings or I'm in a suit or something, they're like, he talks philosophy and comic books and says bad words about comic books. And I'm like, oh.
That's him over there.
So where did you come up with the name Delta Dogs? Or is that going to have something to do with relate to the story later on?
Yeah, it has something related to the story. Everything's for a reason.
Okay.
Like, I can say absolutely nothing.
So let me ask you a question. If they jump on season 2, and this is probably going to be kind of critical, if new readers are like, okay, look, there's already 11 issues out. I don't want to buy 11 issues at one time.
Mm-hmm.
As of today, what's a good jumping on point?
As of today, be honest, it really is issue 11. It really is. Issue 11, they give you a small synopsis of what happened last season because, as you can see at the beginning, one of the cousins get fussed out, and to be honest, you just go from there.
That's
Yeah,
that's
I
another
just
thing I like about your book. In each previous issue,
Yeah.
I love that because I'm forgetful because I can't remember what I did yesterday.
Yeah.
So
And it's
when I
not
was reading,
over narrative. It's just like a quick blurb.
yeah,
This is where you're at.
oh yeah, okay, now I could continue on, but
I don't know if I've ever asked anybody independent creator before, like when you write your issues, like you said, you have the long game in mind. I mean, you're out, you said you're thinking 50 issues ahead right now. I mean, of where you want to end up. How does it, like, if you're looking at issue 11's out now, or issue 12's coming out, correct? Is that what it is?
Mhm.
Okay. So how do you figure out what you want to put in that next issue? Like, where do I want to cut this off? How do you come to that conclusion of where I want this issue to end to move to the next story, and what puzzle pieces you want to move around? Because, like I said, everything's connected to the issue one. How do you work that over in your mind? Like, how am I going to place this in here?
Let me see. How do I explain this? Let me say this before I answer the question. I'm not sure if you guys play any type of sport or whatever, but sometimes you have to relay on just your ability to, like, say with basketball. If you get in tough situations, you have your back turned to the basketball hoop, and sometimes you have to quickly turn around and just shoot it, and you have to depend on your natural ability to make that shot. So saying that, I used to struggle of what I was gonna have next, but I had to put a lot of story in there, just like their abilities. They don't know what their powers are. I had to put in just a lot of nuggets throughout the whole story, so I can get to that final point where it's like I don't need to work so hard to tell the story, as in the story would just tell itself. Um, so I know things happen in season one, so things have ripple effects. So I can just go off those ripple effects throughout the season. You have the military base or whatever. If they screw up, those military people can find them. It's stuff like that. Again, that goes through the story where it's like I don't really need to work as hard anymore. And if I do come up with a hiccup, then all I have to do is depend on that natural ability by just listening to music. Just get myself in that mood. Like, what do I want? Is this a sad scene? So I listen to sad music. Is this a dramatic scene? I listen to dramatic music. I just literally type in on YouTube dramatic instrumentals, stuff like that, and it really just helps me push the story along. If you wanted the bread cutter, like real words to kind of explain things, basically you need to set up different plot points and kind of have a part one to that plot point, a part two to that plot point, to kind of until you have that final solution. But also keep in mind, what do you honestly want to say at the end of the day? I have 1 through 10. It goes over like 10, like 6 or 7 different plot points. Each plot point, I know exactly what I want to say before I even start that plot point. And if I go back to that plot point and I read over it, just that plot point again might come up in issue 1, might come back up in issue 4, might come back up in issue 7. I have to make sure I keep consistent of exactly what I want to say and stick with that. So basically kind of plot heavy, but kind of not. Hopefully I explained that right. I'm not a good teacher.
Yeah, I think that was a pretty good answer.
Yeah.
All right. So
go ahead,
since we're talking about issue 11, the beginning of season 2, as you say, and this is where I had the revelation. I realized that, okay, we got a lot going on. This is when I really realized, like, I knew it was big, and then I realized how much bigger. Because at some point, I didn't realize that there was other super beings right? Like we knew the villain and we knew why. I don't want to spoil that because that's obviously going to come back up later.
Mm-hmm.
We knew we had the Omega human, right? That kind of is the reason why our cousins have their powers. And then all of a sudden we open up in issue 11, and then we realize, oh no, there are other legit super beings in this world, right? And there's a little bit of a, I believe one of them's named Prince Justice.
Yep.
I keep getting kind of a Homelander from the boys vibe from him.
Yeah, when you said that in the video, I was like, Homelander. Oh my gosh! Sure enough, it does resemble a little bit towards Homelander. But the thing is, this whole story, I written this like when I was a kid, so I was just like, man, I guess they beat me to the point, but
there's in other words, what I'm saying is that there's a little underlining story with him too, that maybe he's maybe not as righteous as he would come off to be.
Trust your gut. Trust your gut.
Also, we got the introduction of, you have a bee character, a queen bee. We get introduced to a lot of new characters in this, and I think this is where the art has just completely been revamped. It's more detailed. It's more like you launched this with purpose. All right, so and again, this is the hard part. So without spoilers, launching off number 11, we're obviously following a very different story. Are you concerned that maybe, and I get where you're getting the Spider-Man deal from, a lot of issues going on, a lot of things coming up, things are going to pop up and be the next big issue. You're kind of setting up those plot points. Are you concerned that maybe you might be putting too much on the reader to keep track of at one time?
With that,
that's the hardest question you're going to get today.
It has readability. You can reread the story. You can reread it and find new plot points and find new things that you didn't even find in the first place. So you have that aspect, and then also it makes it a lot more fun because it's more real. Not just one thing happened today in your lives. A couple of things happen. You always have something like that bill that you missed. Like, oh man, I forgot I had that bill. I need to pay that bill yesterday. So, so with this series right here, it kind of just plays off that. They can't forget that they have these different things going on, and they can't forget that they can't do these things, and they can't forget that it's a lot, but at the same time, it makes it more real, and that's what I really want to do with my comic book style. But you're right. I hope I don't go off the board with that.
And we have. I really like. You're truly like, you had the generic superhero. I'm assuming that's our Prince Justice.
Yeah.
But this kind of unique bio humanoid human that you have that can do the mechanical stuff. I forgot his name. I'm sorry.
Agent X.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah. I really like that concept. You got the one guy he's got the tattoos, the tattoo forms into something. You got the one that can do the metal, the queen bee. And of course, they're trying to save their friend who's in a prison. I'll tell you what I really most appreciate. And I don't even appreciate this as a comic book reader. I appreciate this as somebody who grew up in Norfolk till I was in middle school, my freshman year, and then I moved out to Chesapeake. So I know the area very well. Went surfing in Virginia Beach. I know my area extremely well. Even worked in Norfolk with the city for a while. Is when people that claim to be from this area and they start talking, and there's a scene in here where they're transporting the prisoner, and they're doing their checkpoints street by street by street by street. I am such a nerd. I had to double check to make sure you had them in the right order. And you did.
I had to do it just in case. And it was definitely
your artist has obviously gotten some pictures or some references.
Yeah.
not exactly like that area, but it's not bad. Like the federal building down near Bosch, it looked like that building. So kudos to you guys for that stuff. Really good.
I can't wait to so you can really see season 2. Even that review on top of just making more things even more realistic. So I can't wait till you finally get through a couple of more issues of season 2 to see our growth as far as like landmarks and stuff like that.
Are you guys going to use the Dismal Swamp?
Say again?
Are you going to use the Dismal Swamp?
Oh man, I ain't gonna spoil it for you.
Come on, man. You know what? We'll get your artists some pictures. That literally, it's right there. I can take you down the road. We'll get him some. Bubba, I'll tell you where Swamp Thing was filmed. Come on, let's do this.
All right, well, we can do it. No problem.
Anytime. I'm sorry, I'm hogging the show again. I do that. Sorry.
He does that all the time.
Yeah.
So, like I said before, you have a clear vision moving forward. Do you have an end game, or is this open ended still at this particular time?
Let me see here. I have a few endings in mind, but I have to see what the characters kind of bring to the table while I finish writing the story. So, are those either one of them is going to happen, or maybe not even all three of them? I'm still growing as a writer, so I still want to try to kind of leave a little room to kind of like add things in there, take away things. So, short answer, no, I don't have a definite ending. But could I, if I had to wrap up the series real quick, yeah, I could. But I don't think I would do anybody justice if I try to do that. So, I'm still growing to that writer. So,
because right now you said you kind of have plotted out to issue 50. Is that what you got? Kind of rough.
Yeah, that's like a quarter of the story of what I really want to tell. Yeah, it's about a quarter. Yeah.
Makes sense. So, let's talk about Millennial Comics for a second.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you're Millennial Comics as well. Tell us about Millennial Comics and what that is.
Yep. So Millennial Comics, of course, I'm a millennial, so that wasn't too hard to come up with the name.
We're not going to hold it against you.
So, I mean, that's my style of storytelling is by millennials. That's why I kind of chose that name. As far as the story goes, like the people that you've seen in issue 11, they have little to do with the Delta Dogs. They have completely other stories. Even their culture, they're not even from. One of them is not even from, Virginia or anything. He's from like another island. It makes sense of how they got their tattoos. That's a whole nother culture. You wouldn't believe the type of, and that's just one. It's like a clan or whatever. I don't want to spoil too much, but the world in Millennial Comics is a lot bigger than the Delta Dogs. I started the Delta Dogs again for practice to make sure I grow, for a writer to be able to have that ability to write those other stories. There's things going on in the series. Let me see. In issue 10, you kind of see. Oh man, I don't want to see that. No, let me see. How do I not spoil things? There's words that's been uttered, like issue 1, Omega Humans.
Right.
Then it was another word that was altered, and basically those have backgrounds as well towards that wider universe, because the cousins knew about that word. It's no secret. It's like an everyday thing. So you have to figure out, okay, if they have powers, are they a mega human, or are they these other breed, which I call it. Oh, see, I'm forgetting my own terminology here. What is it? Let me look it up. So much stuff. It's called either mega humans. Let me look it up. There's so much stuff that I gotta figure out. Oh, species. Thank you. There we go.
Right.
Species.
Yeah, Omega human species, and then the whole gang thing that happened. Yeah.
So species, I can tell that it's not too much affecting the story. Prince Justice, he's a species.
Okay.
You gotta try to figure out what are species. Then you have to try to figure out what are Omega humans and why are they different. So it's stuff like that that's in the story where you can find out that the Delta Dogs is just a little needle in this huge jug, you know.
So my assumption is under Millennial Comics,
Mhm.
kind of like Valiant and all these other, there will at some point the goal would be some sort of crossover.
Yes.
So we
Yes.
should be reading a lot of other. What do you recommend us to be reading from Millennial Comics other than Delta Dogs?
I haven't figured out the next issue. To be honest, I was going to get a vote for that because I have a lot of them written out. I just really just got to choose one to get the artist to draw it for me. So, and be honest, you kind of see a lot of crossovers. The scientist isn't even the main villain of the Delta Dogs, like Spider-Man and the Kingpin. The Kingpin is main hero is Daredevil, but he did cross over to Spider-Man. It's like the Delta Dogs. The scientist isn't just for the Delta Dogs. In issue 11, the philosophers isn't just for the Delta Dogs. That's not their main villains. The gangs are the main villains for Delta Dogs. All these other characters that come into their world are crossovers.
Okay. So when can we start expecting these other books?
Once I can get this thing off the ground, I get
Right?
more.
We need a little community support, a little comic book love out there, right? To tell us a good story. So how do we buy your comic book, sir? There's your
comic.com or or your local comic book shop in the 757 area.
Which we talked in the off air. I was trying to get some issues. I would buy issue 1 for him to see if I can get him distributed out here a little bit, at least for my local comic shop. Try to get your name out here on the West Coast, I think you're pretty prevalent out there on the East Coast, the Virginia area. Let's try to see if we can push you across the United States, see the shining sea, and move you over here too. See if we can get your name out here too. So we'll definitely talk more about that in the off air for sure.
So definitely, just to confirm, your comic book is not for the one-time buyer. You're there for the long read. Would you say that that's correct?
For years to come, yes, sir.
I like it. That is smooth. I like that. Also, in issues, and just to say this because it's our channel and we can say this, issues 1 through 11, as of right now, have never had what we call a whiskey dick issue in it. There was never just a filler issue just to fill some time. Like this book is meticulously thought out as it went through, and there's something great in every issue. I'm done complimenting you. I don't compliment my wife this much, dude. I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
It's true.
Get me.
So I have links to your Facebook, your Instagram, including your regular website down in the description of this video. So if you guys are watching this in the rewind or whatever, make sure you go check those out and get a hold of Von L at Millennial Comics and talk about Delta Dogs and his growing universe he's working on. It's all up here. He's just trying to get it out all on the page. So definitely look forward to that. Any last minute things you want to say before we bounce out of here?
Yes. Can you give us a small hint?
I love y'all channel. Y'all doing great things. I appreciate everything that y'all done for me. Man, I'm really humble right now.
Can we get a small hint for issue 12? Because I don't have issue 12 yet. I went to Zeno's today and I was like, where's my Delta Dog? And he's like, yeah, he's getting it to us. And I'm like, well, Zeno, you need to get on him.
You can just tell him no. It's fine. He can wait.
I'll give him. I've been saying no all show. So this season, I'll tell you the whole season 2 hint. Season 2 is the time of the Gray Sox. I give you that one.
Fair enough. I like it. Let's roll.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and bounce out of here. Make sure you come check us out this Friday. We're going to be going over some new DC books just to do a little quick promo from ours. New Gods is coming out, Detective Comics, as well as the conclusion of 3 Jokers. So come by and check us out this Friday night when we talk about those, where Mike will actually have maybe something to say instead of just looking pretty, or maybe he just has a stock image up there and we don't know it. Maybe it's a cardboard cutout of Mike. No, you there?
What are you talking about?
I don't know either, Mike. I have no clue. So thanks, Lionel, for jumping on here and chatting with us about Delta Dogs, and we'll make sure to be in touch with you soon. So thanks, everybody, for stopping by. We'll chat with you later.